My name's Barbara White. I'm a composer. I'm the composer of the piece called The Soldier and the Trout, which will be on the program. I've been composing for decades now. I could do the math sometime, I suppose. And I'm also a clarinetist, and I've been on the faculty at Princeton University as a composer for 22 years now. Yeah, I had a really modest upbringing, class-wise and musical culture-wise. Um, and something that was formative is that I grew up in a town that had a good education system, and my parents were devoted to education. There weren't there wasn't much music in the family really, but thanks to public school band programs, I got to play music. And I started at age 10 or so, played in band, marching band, the jazz band, and really didn't know much at all about truly classical repertoire until I got into college. So I'm very grateful for that formative experience where I was able to have access to musical training in a way that might not happen for everybody. I did a little bit in high school. I had a really wonderful band director in high school, and I had many wonderful teachers. My band director, Harold Weiss, has been on my mind lately because he died a couple of months ago at age 89. And I hadn't been in touch with him for a while, which I regret. But I have such pleasant memories of him. He was kind of a demon, just like doing all sorts of things. He played jazz piano and he conducted the band and so on. And in particular, he was extremely generous with me in a way that I didn't realize. Not that I didn't appreciate it, I just didn't understand it
Right.
until I grew up, which is to say, he did all sorts of extra stuff for me, without pay, I suppose, or anything. So, in any case, he had an intro theory course, which was pretty, only a few people took it. And I ended up wanting to do more. He worked with me on theory independently. And through that, I started playing around with configurations of notes. And I made an arrangement of happy birthday for his birthday for the
Oh,
band
that's
to
sweet.
play. I found myself using that word because other people did.
Uh-huh.
And over time, I was playing more my own music. I think where it comes from before that, though, is doing a lot of improvising when I was a young adult and free improvising primarily. Of course, composing. I had the opportunity to be involved in a class on jazz at Harvard. I was a teaching assistant for that. And although I had played a little bit of jazz and heard a lot, really immersing myself in that led me to think about sound and articulation in a fuller way. Um, it was pretty organic how it happened. I'm not sure I have a true narrative on it, but it was partly that I actually had an injury when I was young and couldn't play in my early 20s.
Mhm.
And coincidentally or not, I didn't find myself pursuing playing standard repertoire. So I would be improvising with dancers or, playing at different kinds of events, composing. And at one point, I wrote a piece when I was quite young that was intended to play the clarinet as if I had never played it before. And it had to do with coming back after this injury. I didn't have all the reflexes and expectations that a more classically oriented player would have. And I think since then, I've played very little standard repertoire, and it just kept going. I ended up playing with these certain kinds of I guess I would call it vocabulary, vocabulary of bent notes and certain kinds of attacks and so on. These days, um, I use some techniques that come from the shakuhachi and from the Irish flute, which I'm not sure if I knew I was doing that when I started. So sometimes it's more conscious and sometimes not. I guess I would say, I mean, there are many things. I enjoy cooking, I like plants, I like going out in nature. I have a pretty contemplative and introspective way. So in some ways, I would never want to de-emphasize how hard the pandemic is for anybody. I'm lucky that I can work from home, but I'm also someone who doesn't suffer as much from being alone. So that's kind of where my mindset is. And something I think about a lot, I teach a course for freshmen called Everyday Enchantment. And the subtitle is Blurring the Boundary Between Art and Life. And, when you ask that question, it's like, my mind goes to, is there a thing, an activity, a hobby, or something like that? But I think the thing that means the most ultimately is just everyday things, little things. And there was a time, I think a couple of summers ago, where there are a lot of challenges going on. I had things I had to deal with. And I just remember saying to somebody, my partner lives on the ocean, so we like to sit out at night, and I often take pictures. And I just said, all I want this summer, I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to, buy anything. I just want to be able to sit outside, by the ocean, maybe with a cocktail, maybe not every time. So I just like these moments that arise, sort of Virginia Woolf like, and a breeze comes up that you didn't expect, or you meet someone who says something, that relates to what you were just thinking about. It's just everyday kind of magic is probably the most joyful thing.